Hi, hi guys. In today's video, we will take a look at how we can include Guardian and use Guardian to take care of storing our authentication information in our sessions. So let's get started. Guardian is a is a very neat package. It also helps you do authentication in your sockets and channels. So that's an added benefit of Guardian. It uses something called JSON Web Tokens. So we'll get into that later in the video. For now, to start using Guardian, you need to add it as a dependency in your mix file, and once we do that, we also need to change our config to include Guardian, the Guardian's config. So we'll just copy this from the GitHub README, right? And the name of our application, it can be my app, but in this case it's blog, and you can change the number of days for which a token is alive. We'll look at that later. And you need to add a key. For now, we're just gonna use just that, and we'll fix that in a minute. And we also need to have a serializer. So we'll add this serializer in the lib folder, and in the lib blog folder, we'll create a file called Guardian serializer, and the README also provides a sample implementation for that, so we can just copy that, and we'll quickly go over that here. So let's change a few things. This is a blog, right? And the name of our authentication model is user. So these are just a couple of aliases. And what this module does is it serializes a user into a small string, which can be then transmitted transmitted to the user or stored in a session. So in this case, it's really stored in a session, and then when you make a new request, it pulls this token from the session and then loads the user. So what's happening here is the fur token is where we are serializing our user object, and if you see, it matches on the user object, and all it's doing is it's creating a string with the user's ID in it. And this part is the deserialization, and what this is doing is it's pattern matching on the token, on the string, and extracting the ID out of it, and then just getting that user from our database using the repository. So that's it, nothing fancy here, right? Now once we have these wired up, let's also fix the secret here. So Mix actually has a task for generating a secret, which is Mix Phoenix Gen Secret, and let's copy that and put it in our secret, right? And the best way to add the secret is not actually store it in this in the source code, because if it's in the source code, then if someone gets access to this key, they can then create their own JSON web tokens. So this is probably not a good idea. We should save this in a environment variable, maybe call it blog JWT token, right? And so that's the right way to do it, right? And make sure that this key is injected into that injected into that environment variable. But for now, we're just gonna use that key, right? And all right, so this looks good. So now we have Guardian set up. and we can use Guardian methods to store data in our session. Now, if you take a look at our sessions controller, uh, we'll see that we are we're storing the session, we're storing information right here, right? This is where we are storing our user in the session, right? Now what we can do is Guardian has this method called sign in, which takes a user and stores that data in a session. So we can use that, right? And that's our user, and I'll just comment that out. So what we're doing here is we are taking our user and asking Guardian to store a token with this user's information in our session. So, you know, basically what it's doing is storing the user ID. Okay, but it's storing a lot more. For all intents and purposes, for our use case, it's just storing the user ID, right? So now this user ID is stored in the session. So what we can do is if we go to our if we go to our plug, so we had created a plug. Remember, we had created a plug called the load current user plug. So now we don't need this because Guardian already gives us a plug which can help us load the current user, and we can just stick it into the routes. So if you go to routes, and we actually did that here, right? So instead of load current user plug, we can use Guardian dot. Uh, we actually need to use two plugs here. Verify session, and we need another plug called what is that? Um, load resource. Okay, so two plugs. This verifies that the session, the token is present in the session, and it deserializes it, and this actually loads a resource, which is our user object. Okay, and once we have this, um, once we have this, we can access the current user just like we used to. So let's let's run this and see if it works. Um, so if we refresh this, it says anonymous, but let's actually sign in. So I'll say session new and give my username and password, and it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. So let's see what's happening here. Um, Now, if we look at the logs, you'll see that for every request I make, it's actually running a query where it's loading the user based on the ID, and the ID here is 3. So we know that it's loading the user properly, but it's just that we aren't able to access it using add current user, right? And let's look at the view. Let's look at the view app HTML, and if you look at the view, it's actually checking user. If user is signed in, then it's getting the current user. So we need to go to the app view. What's the name of that view again? So go to views and layout view, right? That's where we have it, and we're trying to see if it has stored it in the current user assigns. Now let's take a look at that load resource plug and see what it does. So when you call, when we add that plug, what it's doing is it's setting the current resource from serializer, and what is this guy doing? So this guy's putting this in in the private collection. So one thing we can do is we can still have our we can still have our plug called blog.load resource, which uh, which would have a slight change. So the thing here is we we are loading the user, but Guardian is not setting it. Uh, Guardian is not assigning it into the assigns collection. It's using a private collection. So uh, let's go to our plugs, load current user, and we don't need the options, right? So we don't need the options, and so here, well, we're using this, so we don't need the options. But what we need to do here is to get the user. There is a method on Guardian called plug.current, or what is it? It's called resource. Yeah, for the resource, Guardian plug current resource gives you the current user. So all we have to do here is um, get this line of code here. Say assign to current user. Assign what to current user? Uh, so we need to copy that, and that is our current user. And we just need to assign it there, right? And once we do that, we just need to return the connection, which we're doing, right? So this has become very simple now, right? And now if we reload our page, it says module plug. Okay, so the name of that plug is load current user, right? So we'll fix that, and now we have everything working fine, right? So that's nice. So we are able to get the current user into our current user assigns. Finally, what we need to do is if we go to our to-do list, we want the admin to be able to create posts and the signed in users to be able to create comments, right? So now in our controller, so all right, let's do this. So I'm gonna make a commit here. Added Guardian, right? And what we'll do is we'll just generate a few views. So, I'm sorry, a few some scaffold to mix Phoenix generate HTML, some scaffold to create blog posts and to create comments. So a blog post is a post with a posts table. It has a title, which is a string, and it has a body, which is also a string, but it's a text. Do we have a text in Ecto? I'm not sure. Let's see. So that's it, right? So now once we do that, we need to add this chunk of code in our routes. So let's do that. Go to router and add those routes. All right, and finally we need to finish our migration. So ecto migrate should do the migration, and if we reload our website and go to the posts page, the post what okay, so if you go to our routes, we have the posts page, right? So it says no route found for posts. Wow, why would that happen? So I think maybe it's not loading reloading the code properly. So yeah, that was the case. So I just restarted the server, and now we can create a new post. So we'll just create a new post. Hello world, awesome post, right? The thing is, if I open this as an unauthenticated user, I can, hey, I can screw up your blog, right? So I can do that, right? So we don't want that. So the way we do it is we need to go to the posts controller, right? The post controller, and we need to, somewhere over here, we need to stop the user from um, from creating a new post or deleting a new existing post. So uh, what we can do here is we can use one of Guardian's plugs called Guardian. Uh, so what is it called? Ensure authenticated. Okay, so this plug makes sure that whoever is trying to access this page is authenticated, and if it isn't, then it also needs an option here, which we'll look at in a minute. So if you look at the documentation, it says it needs a handler, which needs to be a module. So for now, we'll just say handler is the blog post controller, which can also be replaced by the module keyword, but this is fine, right? Now, if we try to reload this page, it fails. It says undefined method blog post controller unauthenticated, right? So what Guardian is trying to do is, since we're not authenticated, it's trying to call the unauthenticated method on the blog post controller. That's what the handler is for. So what we're saying is, if the user is authenticated, just let it run as it would, and if it is not authenticated, go to this handler and run the method called unauthenticated on that module, right? So what we need to do is we need to define that method here. So we'll say def unauthenticated, and this is a typical action, right? So all we need to do is say render, or just say text, hang on, so connection, and put so plug dot connection dot put status as 403, because that's I guess that's the forbidden status, right? So that, and finally render just a text page called unauthorized, or yeah, unauthorized, that's fine. So now if we try to go to posts or posts new, it says you're not authorized to view this. But if we do it from the browser below, we're able to do it without any problem because we are authenticated, right? So that's how you set up authentication for your pages. But the other thing we want is we want normal users to be able to read all the posts. So we want them to view the index and the show actions. So we can do that by saying when action not in index or show, right? When action is not in these two, we can we need to ensure that it is authenticated. But when if it is when it is either of these actions, uh, we can let the user go to the page, right? So what's the problem here? It says before in there's a problem. Yeah. So I think the not the not in, it should be not action in, right? So anyway, the syntax was wrong, and so what's going on here? When, so again, I'm messing up the syntax, I'm sure. So okay, we actually have an example here, right here, right? So when it looks good to me. So let's see. Undefined function when. No. So let's see if no. So what does it say? It says undefined function when taking two arguments. Um, when not off, action in. So all right. So there's a bit of a problem here. Let me see what the syntax is. When action in, right? So when action in. Okay, so let's try that. So what we want here is when we want to do this when action is in new or create or edit or update or delete, right? So that looks good. Let's see if that helps us. I'm sure I'm missing something there. Okay, so it says line number 6, which is our line. What's going on here? Plug. Okay. So ensure authenticated and so undefined when. I'm not even sure how when works here. So so let's take a look at so I'm just searching for the syntax, right syntax for when. Action. Okay, let's see if that helps. Yeah. So again, small glitch because of our syntax. So it turns out, so since we know that this is a keyword list, um, it's it has to be explicit if we are following it with something, some more code, right? So now I think we can do not action in index or show. I think that should be good, right? Yeah, that works. So this guy can view the list of all the posts, view the details of one post. If he goes to try to edit the post, it says unauthorized, right? So that's good. What else? The other thing we need to do here is we can probably add another plug called blog dot ensure admin, right? So and all we have to do that in there is make sure that the guy who's creating the posts is an admin. So we already have the current user, so let's actually do this. So what we need to do again, this guy also needs the when, so that, and we need to create a new plug called ensure admin, and we'll copy the code from our other plug to help us get started faster. So ensure admin, right? And what we need to do here is we need to get the current user, which we can get it this way, and or we could do it this way: connection assigned current user, right? So all we need to do is when you say if user, let's put that on a new line, right? If user is present and user dot role is admin, right? Then we let the connection be returned, right? Otherwise, we halt the connection, right? And how do we halt the connection in a plug? I'm not sure. We need to look at some documentation here. So we can actually look at ensure authenticate and see how it does that. So halt. So the way we do it here, it seems, is you just pipe the connection through a halt function, and that should do it, right? So which we are doing it here, right? So that should be good, right? And now let's reload this page, and it says undefined function halt. Halt is a function on, hang on. All right, so halt is probably a function on plug connection. So you need to say plug dot connection dot halt. Yeah, halts the plug pipeline by preventing further plugs downstream from being invoked. Yeah, so that looks good. So let's reload that. So index is available for everyone, show is available for everyone, but if we try to edit this, it let's look at the logs. So it's not showing us the edit form, which is good, and it says it terminated. Response was neither set nor sent, right? So we need to actually send a response, right? So go back to our connection here, right? Go back to our connection and make sure that after halting it, we return a text, and before this we put a status of 403, and we say unauthorized. Yeah. And there's a problem here. It says put status. Yeah, put status is on plug con2, right? So what's this? Yeah, text is also on. No, well, text is. I'm not sure what text is on. But let's see. Plug dot connection dot text. Yeah, there's no text on there. There is a send response though. So send response takes a connection, a status, and body. So we can just use that. Say 403 unauthorized. Yeah, and we can get rid of these two. Yeah. So now if we reload this, it says unauthorized, and let's actually say unauthorized needs to be an admin. So that's nice. And actually something better we can do here is we can say plug Phoenix controller dot put flash. So here we can put a flash for an error, and then redirect this guy. So Phoenix controller redirect, right? Redirect this guy to the root page. Yeah. So I think this is a better approach. So now we see, hey, you're not authorized to view this page. You need to be an admin, and that I think is nicer, much nicer. And we can do the same for that other unauthenticated action. But yeah, this seems nice, right? We have a very clean way of making sure that the user is authenticated. And if we close everything and go to our posts controller, posts controller, we'll see that the way we've added authentication is very non-intrusive. All we've done is added two plugs at the top, one to make sure that the user is authenticated and the other to make sure that the user is an admin. So I say good job. All right, guys, so that's it for this episode. We'll take a look at how to secure sockets using JSON Web Tokens and Guardian in the next session. So stay tuned. Goodbye.